So let's just get right into it then.
Should I do the Chris Collinsworth? Now here's a guy. You're now Sunday Night Football. Not a big guy. Not a big fan. Do you know what I'm talking about?
All right, so let's just get right into it. So let's just start out. We're about 45 minutes late to the first episode of After the Close.
Yep.
Because our kids wouldn't go to bed.
Yeah.
That's just what happened.
Among other things, yes.
Among other things, sure. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Right. So we were going to get started about 45 minutes ago. So maybe about an hour ago, I got a text from our neighbor, and she texted me and says, "Hey, can you tell my wife to check her phone?" I texted her. So I was like, "All right, check your phone." So she checks her phone, and my wife had to run down to our neighbors to check to see that our neighbor put her cat medicine away in the fridge. so Jenny had to run out and go do that. So that delayed bedtime by 20 minutes, because we had to go do that because that's just what we do. And
you got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Exactly.
It is what it is. A father's day or whatever. The work never ends.
No, so I was sitting with our daughter, and then our daughter's having a bit of a tough time with bedtime sometimes. So we're working through that, and she's not feeling so hot. So it's not really helping, so that's tough. So last night she was up basically all night. So very little sleep was had. So everybody's trying to go to bed earlier tonight, and obviously that didn't happen. So, now we're here. So now I'm having a delicious beverage and on After the Close,
All right. Thank you. So,
yeah.
All right. So, kids, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, right.
But please just introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name's Tom. Obviously, I don't know if you can see it on screen, but last name is Serpico. So I'm Trader Dad's brother. Longtime listener, longtime reader, first time trader. Was it After the Close? That's what we're calling this. But no. So basically,
how could you be a long-time listener and also be on the first episode?
Well, I've been here from the beginning. So, I've been here from the beginning.
2.5 minutes ago. Thank you.
Exactly. 2.5 minutes ago. So I'm a father. I'm a father of a 2.5-year-old girl. So that's, I guess that's Trader Dad's niece, right? And then
you're the father to my niece. That's correct.
Yeah, that's how that works. And I've been among other things for myself, I've been a professional civil engineer for the past 12 years. So that's what I do for a full-time profession. And that's kind of a little bit about me and my life so far and all the fun things that go about it. So now I'm here to talk about all things dad and all things trading, right?
Well, that's not all we're going to talk about here. We're going to just, go with the flow. I'm actually more interested in what's going on with you.
Right. So I've got a lot of things going on right now, actually. So the big thing that's really been grinding my gears lately is my dishwasher. I've been telling everybody about this, and it's a broken record, but man, is it bothering me. So about 2.5 weeks ago, my dishwasher was leaking, and I'm like, all right, and it was leaking out of the front on one side. So I'm like, all right, I could probably fix this. Shouldn't be that hard. So I thought it was the seal that goes around the door. I thought that wasn't when the door closed. I thought the one seal wasn't connecting. So water was sneaking out there. All right, replace the seal, figure it out. All right, let's see. Nope, didn't work. So I troubleshoot, and I'm like, all right, let's figure this out. So I take the door off, and one of the things it was saying was the dishwasher float might not be engaging. So I checked the thing. All right, it could have been an electrical short. So I replaced the electrical short. Cool. Then they're saying, well, if the electrical short isn't connecting to the water inflow pipe, the water inflow pipe might be clogged and just too much water is getting in there. I'm like, all right, let me replace the water inflow thing. So I do that. So I basically rebuilt the whole freaking dishwasher. And what it turns out is that when you close the door, it wasn't creating a good enough seal on the bottom of the tub. And it was slushing out, and just, when the bottom propeller went around, it would just sluice it out underneath it. And that was just super frustrating. So the piece that creates that seal, they don't make anymore. So I was like, so I had to go buy a new dishwasher. So I had to do that. And there were some sales for, I guess, Martin Luther King Day. So we kind of had to pull the trigger on it pretty quickly. So I didn't get a chance to do a lot of good research on it. So we had the general specs. We wanted the third rack. Had to fit under this counter height because our floors are stupid height and everything is dumb in our house because everything's stupid dimensions. So all these things, I'm like, all right, well, that one fixed the mold and it's relatively affordable, I suppose. So we pull the trigger on it and we get it. So we had to buy it online. I couldn't even go to the store and buy it. So I bought it online, and there was no option for someone to install it, which was a pain. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to install it. So then I also paid $40 for somebody to haul another dishwasher away, the dishwasher that was broken away. So that was a pain. Because in hindsight, I shouldn't have done that. I should have kept it, and I should have gave it to the guy around the corner who scraps everything instead of making money, instead of paying somebody $40 to take it away. That's a whole other thing. But before I took the dishwasher out, I basically parted it out. I took everything out of it that I possibly could, because screw them for paying $40 to have to take that thing away. That was super annoying. So I did that. So then as I'm installing it, I'm like, all right, I know enough where I can install a dishwasher. You got to hook up the electrical, hook up the drain line, hook up the water intake line, get it in there, level it out, do what you got to do. But because, everything's kind of a pain in our house, where the dishwasher goes, the floor in front of the dishwasher is higher than the floor where the dishwasher goes. So you slide it in and it dips down. And then when you have to try to take it out to kind of maneuver things, you got to like prop it up. It's a huge pain. So I ended up busting up my counter because because the fabrication of the dishwasher, there's like the metal
Don't get
frame.
me started on dishwasher fabrication.
Dude, hey, just
I thought we'd be in episode
Shut your
89 of After the Close
Shut your
before we
mouth.
got the dishwasher fabrication,
this
but I'm
has
happy
been-
you jumped ahead.
This has been grinding my gears for 2 weeks. So the dishwasher fabrication, they've got like a metal frame, and then there's a screw that like connects into the frame, and it pops up a little bit higher. So when I put it in, it like scraped the whole bottom of it, and it busted up the front of my freaking countertop. So I'm annoyed about that. So that sucked. So I hook it all up, and I'm all ready to run it, and I run this thing, and the stupid hose that connects into the drain line dish, like the garbage disposal, starts leaking. I'm like, God damn it. So I basically had to fiddle with that for a couple nights to figure out why that was the problem. And it turns out that the old dishwasher line, the way it worked is like you hook it up to the garbage disposal, and it comes in and it goes, and then it goes around, and then you clamp it. So I hooked up the new one the same way the old one was hooked up. Well, it turns out that wasn't the correct way to hook the new one.
Very logical. I'd have done the same.
So I'm like sitting there, and I'm like tightening the metal clamp that goes around it with the screw, and I'm like screwing it. And when I was taking off the old one,
you were
like,
screwing it.
Shut the fuck. So I said, what moron? As I'm undoing the old one, I said, what moron put this thing on where the screw is on the top facing away from everybody? So you have to take the screwdriver and go like backwards into it. Like who does that? That's ridiculous. So when I put it on the bottom, so it was facing me. I was like, all right. So I'm sitting at work the next day, and I'm thinking like, why is that leaking? Why is that leaking? So in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's leaking on the bottom because I put the screw on the bottom, because now there's a gap where the screw is, so it's not fully tightening on the bottom. So I'm like, oh, God damn it. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just take the thing off and I'll put it around, and I'll put it on like the stupid guy, who has to screw it around like the back. So I do that, and it still leaked. So I'm like, well, that wasn't the problem. So I was like, oh man, that was a killer. So it turns out that I just put the stupid hose on backwards. So I had to fix the hose and put it on the other way, and then finally it fixed. So after 2.5 weeks and $800 later, I freaking have a dishwasher. That sucks. That I don't like, because the tines inside are not spaced out right. So all our dishes don't space out right. The cups don't space out right. Everything doesn't space out right. And this is like the thing that has been grinding my gears for the last 2 weeks. I just. But I have a dishwasher that works. So there you go. Lo and behold, that's where I'm at.
Huh. I had a similar dishwasher problem. You know what I did with it?
Got a new dishwasher.
I called a repairman. It cost me $200. He fixed it in a day and a half.
Yeah, well, the part doesn't exist anymore for my dishwasher. So, I had to buy a new one. So that's how that works. So I even tried to jerry rig like a seal, like I put like weather stripping on into there, and it just the seal wouldn't hold, and it was a mess. So that wasn't happy for anybody in our household, So it's funny. So I'm on my knees fixing the dishwasher, for like a week. I'm trying, I'm fiddling with the parts, and I'm changing them or whatever. So our daughter has a play kitchen, and in her play kitchen she has an oven and a dishwasher. So as I'm fixing my dishwasher, she goes over and she's fixing her dishwasher. So she has her tools and her tool belt, and she's taking the drill and drilling her things and doing all that. And so her dishwasher, she was able to fix hers, but I couldn't fix mine. So she's now the man of the house. She's the one who.
Your 2-year-old daughter took the.
Yeah, my two and a half year old daughter is the man of the house, because she can fix her own dishwasher.
Okay.
So that's how that goes. But so lo and behold, that's funny. So, but yeah, it was cute though that she went over and fixed her dishwasher, and she wanted help with fixing her dishwasher. So I held the flashlight for her while she fixed her dishwasher, and she held the flashlight for me while I fixed our dishwasher. So that was fun. That was
each other's dishwasher.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how we do it. That's how we do it in this house. We try to fix things. We don't have the ability to just. Yeah, we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and fix our own appliances.
Yeah, you're a real pioneer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So.
And what do you do again?
What? I'm a civil engineer.
You're an engineer. It took you 2 weeks to fix your dishwasher.
No. Let's be clear. It took me 2 weeks to decide to buy a new dishwasher.
The dishwasher is not fixed.
Yeah. Well, no.
At the end of the 2 weeks,
you
still a broken dishwasher.
So furthermore, I'm a stormwater management engineer. So what I do is I deal with water. That's what I do, and I couldn't fix a leak in a dishwasher.
So is this dishwasher kind of like your white whale?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I am so mad about this because the dishwasher we had was a really nice dishwasher, and I couldn't fix it. And I was all like, it threw me off so much that this was leaking. I don't know why it threw me off so much, but it did. I couldn't believe how much like something little like that just like threw us out of our rhythm. You know what I mean? Like you have the rhythm that you go through every day, and like you go through your normal things, and it was an unexpected thing that just surprisingly really threw me specifically for a loop, because I thought it was something so simple that I could just fix. And when it wasn't as simple as I thought it was going to be, it just rocked my world. I don't know why. Like it just threw me off my game so much, and I'm still off my game about it. I'm still recovering. Oh man. Gosh.
But now I know how Brady felt.
Yeah.
He lost that
right?
Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Or how Russell Wilson felt when he threw it. Like that's right. How I feel about it. Oh my God. Why? If he would have handed the ball to Marshawn, I would have just been able to find the part. To fix the dishwasher, we would have won the Super Bowl. But gosh, I decided to throw it from the 2-yard line and intercepted. But man, that was. So that's been grinding my gears for a while, and I'm still on it.
What's very interesting about that reference that we kind of just evolved into? We're talking about when Russell Wilson, when they were going to either throw or run it, and it was like,
right,
yeah.
Right. So set the picture, right? So the Seahawks are driving in the late fourth quarter, and they get down to the 1-yard line, and they have the best running back in the NFL, Marshawn Lynch, and the guy, his nickname is Beast Mode. And Beast Mode can get 1 yard to get into the end zone just to win the freaking Super Bowl, right? Sure. And then, so instead of doing what everybody in the world said you should do, they decide to throw the ball, and it gets intercepted at the 1-yard line, and the Patriots win the Super Bowl. How ridiculous is that? That's the most insane thing in the history of Super Bowls. One of the most insane things in the history of Super Bowls. But man, everybody's jaw was on the floor when that happened, when they didn't give it to the best running back in the NFL in the entire year. Those morons.
So it's interesting you say that, because Annie Duke, do you know who Annie Duke is?
Yeah, she's Howard Lederer's sister.
Yes, she's Howard Lederer's sister. She does the poker. So
yeah, she does the poker.
Poker. So
is that what they call it?
What?
Yeah, I like to do the poker.
I do the poker. I do the hokey pokey as well with my kids. Whatever.
I do the poking.
Sure. I was the pokey and the poker.
Never the pokey. I'm always the poker.
All right.
But anyway. Yeah, Annie Duke. Yeah, back to Annie Duke.
So Annie Duke. Annie Duke is a professional poker player, and she rolled into then writing different books and things because she has actually a strong psychology background academically.
No kidding. Okay.
So her first book was all about like poker tells and all that shit. And then the second book she came out with was called Thinking in Bets, which really gives more about like how do you work through problem solving and things based on probabilities and like forward equity, like, if I do this now, but I might also then be able to do these things. She gets very into it. It's very good, very well written, very well regarded. She's doing the rounds right now on like podcasts and things because she's got a new book coming out called Quit. And that's like a whole thing about pruning. It's a whole almost the opposite. The first one is more about like how can you expect to grow. This one is like where are you going to cut off things that are going to go bad. Sort of an inverse look at it.
Yeah, nice.
But in the Thinking in Bets book, one of her classic examples, and it's probably just like made these days, it's almost one level below Malcolm Gladwell's stuff, like the 10,000 hour rule and whatnot, in terms of how popularized it's becoming. So what's happening is in Thinking in Bets, she talks specifically about the play you had just described.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
And so, yes, like she deliberately goes through it and she runs through the statistics of like various things with the Seahawks and Super Bowl plays and like various things. And I mean, she's implying certain, or rather she's inferring a little bit of it, because obviously she doesn't know what was going on in the field that day. But statistically, she kind of pointed out that like they actually made probably the best call. Like if you played that out 1,000 times,
no,
like
they didn't.
600, 700 of them, it actually would have worked out.
Disagree. Disagree. I just have to disagree. Because like, what is that being based on?
I would have to look up the chapter. I don't know precisely.
Because okay. Just this is very rudimentary in my mind, right? Handing the ball off versus throwing the ball. Handing the ball off, you have a much higher percentage success rate of getting the ball in the player's hands, right? Okay. So that eliminates that. Now then, does the player get back to the line of scrimmage or not? That's probably the next thing, yes or no. And then do they make the 1 yard gain? Yes or no? Okay. Those to me are the potential pitfalls of running the ball. Throwing the ball, it's much harder to get the ball to the player to start the play. Mm-hmm. So right off the bat, the percentage, like the first thing that has to happen, the percentage of that actually happening is much lower than the other option. So if you go down, in my mind, of that tree of options to get to success, I would argue that that's I might, and obviously there are X factors that go into it, having the best running back and one of the best lines in football to gain 1 yard, rather than throwing it, because clearly it didn't succeed. So,
counter.
Yeah, counter it.
The opposing side also knew all of this. The defense knew to clog up the holes on the line of scrimmage, because there was a very high probability that they'd have to run him in for the yard.
Yeah.
And it was only 1 yard, and this guy could get a yard. So they knew what play was most likely. So you have to bounce off that idea, knowing it's like, it turns into like Sicilian logic of it.
Yeah. But guess what? Guess what happens all the time? That when everyone knows you're going to run the ball and you still pick up a yard. Guess what was happening all game? They picked up a yard. So like, yes, I understand that they knew it was coming. Well, guess what? Everybody knows what's coming at the professional level. It's just whether or not you can execute. So because you know what's happening, yeah, sure, but they're still going to get the push on the line, and it's ridiculous. Clearly, the proof is in the pudding of what happened. They threw it because Russell Wilson sucks at throwing footballs, and obviously, he obviously sucks as a quarterback now, given this last season. Jack, right, so he's on my fantasy team, and I'm
fair enough. But in the Annie Duke book,
I get I get what she's saying, but
between results oriented versus process oriented.
Right. Okay, that's fair. But
decision making versus just like the outcome, because you can make the right decisions and still end up in the wrong place. But the question becomes, would you deliberately make a wrong decision at any point? No, because you don't know what's going to end up happening.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that I would very much like to. What's the name of her book? Let's plug.
Thinking in Bets.
Thinking in Bets, because I want to check that out, because I want to read about that. Yeah. I do. We'll put a pin in the book recommendation thing for a minute, but I do want to read about that, because I want to hear what her logic is as to why she thinks that is the correct choice. Because I see things like that all the time, where people are thinking, like, from an abstract standpoint, I guess, where, like, if it's this example, for instance, like if she's saying, like, okay, the throw is the better choice. Well, I want to know what her logic is behind that, because Annie Duke is not a football person. She is a poker person looking at analytics. So I want to know what factors she's considering in that abstract analysis, right? Like, because, like, did she take into account the weight of the lineman versus the defensive lineman? Like, I don't know. Like is that a factor that came into her analysis? I don't know. because like that to me, that's a big factor. Like if you're playing 5 offensive linemen and they're playing with 4 down defensive linemen, well, then you have a 5-on-4 advantage to get the push that you need. so then is she taking that into account? Like because there's strategic football things that when people make those analysis in those books, they probably don't take into account like the actual football critique of things. You know what I mean? Like, she's not a football coach.
You sound like the old agents in Moneyball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're taking a very like anti-analytical approach on it.
Yeah, because there's an eye test. And that's yes, I'm also not a football coach, but I mean I watched the play. I saw what happened. Let me know if you can hear me.
I mean, but you're right. They didn't win.
Right. So, it doesn't really matter what the choice was because even if they handed it off, they could have stuffed him at the line. So
right, but the point of the book is choosing process over whatever. So like if he judged that 65% of the time, or if he had judged like the best statistics, the best way to judge it would be like if he thought 40% of the time they're not going to make it at all. You can almost point it like a Monty Hall problem. So like if 40% of the time, and not quite the Monty Hall problem, but basically, so 40% of the time they're not going to get it. They're not going to get it.
Okay.
And then
but okay, so right there, why 40? What makes you say 40? Like I would love to know.
Because if you're right, then you sound like a genius, and if you're wrong, be like, well, 60% of the time,
Yeah. I read your predictions. Yeah, I read the Trader Dad Substack on predictions for 2023. Well,
yeah.
We'll see.
Some of them have already come true for what it's worth.
Yeah, fuck pickleball, right?
Pickleball people, pick a lane, people.
Yeah, right.
Pick a lane.
So, I was talking about pickleball today, actually, but
no, but hold on. No. But the point of the Annie Duke book is to think in process and think in statistics rather than being like results oriented. Because like there is somebody who will buy one lottery ticket and win $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean you should just buy a lottery ticket if you get $1 million.
Well, yeah. Well, yes. I feel like that's apples and oranges.
It is. It's a stretch of an example, but it's simplify.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get the point of the book. The point of the book is to look at the process of how you make decisions, and I'm sure it's a great read. And it's one of those things where it would probably help in certain aspects of trying to decipher certain things in my own job and things like that. Plus, it's just great to see the probability of certain things and how people break things down. Like I very much enjoy those kind of books and those kind of things. I'm just curious, and it sounds like it's a good read. So I'll probably try to check it out at some point with all that free time I have. That's obviously the thing.
Well, what you need is an Audible subscription. I don't think I've sat and read a paged book in 7 years.
Really?
Because as soon as, especially like when my oldest was first born, and like if I was like rocking her to sleep or something, I just put earbuds in, and it was still quiet, but I just listen to my books,
right? That's
rocking her to sleep. So I didn't. I would sit with her for 45 minutes. I didn't care. I wasn't getting fidgety because I was just sitting and listening to my book.
Right. I didn't have the mental capacity to do anything when I had a newborn. I did not have any mental capacity. I reveled in that opportunity to just sit with nothing happening in my brain.
I mean, I've done that too. It's nice to just sit in the dark sometimes.
Oh my God, that was tough. Oh man, that was so hard. Oh jeez. Oh, oh boy. That was difficult. Those are difficult times. So getting away from the Annie Duke thing, it was. So I had a conversation with somebody at a marketing event recently, and he was asking if I have kids. And I said, yeah, I have a 2.5-year-old. And I said, yo, do you have any kids? He's about my age. He's in his early 30s. And he said, no, we're trying to have kids. And I said, oh yeah, good luck with that. Great, whatever. And he said, how was the birth? Like, how was how was that aspect of things? Like, because I said that our daughter was born, right in kind of the height of COVID. And I said, yeah, that was a really unique experience. So I said, people who have kids who are born from like the middle of March to like the beginning of July of like 2020 have such a unique experience in terms of like the last third trimester of birth and then of like pregnancy and then the birth of things like that. And like after my daughter was born, like nobody could come to our house.
Right.
Like it
That's
was
true.
it
Yeah,
was just
I didn't see her until she was like 3 or 4 months old.
right. It was just me and my wife, and that was crazy. Like it was like the most surreal experience was coming home from the hospital, and then we're home, the three of us, and she starts crying, and we're just like, crap, what do we do? like what do we do? That was like, so yeah, because I mean with COVID, no, everybody was afraid to go see people. Like you couldn't do anything. And like the hospital experience was one whole thing that, you know, that could be a whole thing in itself. But like coming home and just having no help, you know, like you're just nothing. Like no one could hold a kid. Like it was just the two of us. You know, it was just like all day, every day. Like that was intense. So, but yeah, so like, so people say like, oh, you know, it's so hard. It's so hard. I'm like, yeah, it's hard. Imagine not having anybody there to hold the kid. Like,
Yep.
like, you know, like I'm bitter. I'm a little bitter. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's hard. I get it. I know how hard it is. Imagine not having anyone to come help you at all for months. You know, so you know, but whatever. So I digress.
Well, we don't have any family where we are, you know, either.
Well, right, exactly. Well, yeah, it's tough. I mean, yeah, you guys moved away, and that's a thing. But I mean, now, I mean, your youngest is older-ish. She's not a newborn.
Correct.
You know, so like, you know, and also not your first.
Correct.
You know, you know, when you have no idea what you're doing and no one can help you, it's just like,
Yes, yeah, it can be very difficult. It's difficult for everybody in their own way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody has their own challenges, and it's something. It's unique. Where parenting, it seems like it's just it's your own challenges because your kids are your own kids, and they have all the good things and all the bad things, and it's everybody's unique. And you know, it's funny. We were just with a friend of ours who have two kids, and their two kids are completely opposite, and it's funny to see the juxtaposition of the two of them. Like they look similar, but man, their personalities couldn't be different. Couldn't be more different, and it's just fun. And neither personality is bad or anything. It's just funny how different. You know, it's just like, and the different challenges that are going to come with those different personalities. And nobody will ever know those challenges of parenting those two kids that are two friends. Like, you know, like it's just interesting how there's no, I guess there's I don't know, there's no right answer and no wrong answers, just answers. And you see what happens. Just, you know, so that's just how I look at it.
The die has already been cast, my friend. She's either going to be a sociopath or not. It's like you're done.
It's gonna be a 7 out or nothing or a point. You know, you never know, right? So yeah, good old throwing some craps logic in there. You know.
Thanks, we appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. You know, 3V craps. Hey.
Coming to you soon. Know what that is.
No, so yeah, so I've been toying around with creating a craps YouTube channel.
You want to start a craps YouTube channel?
Yeah, I thought around it. You know, just talking about craps theory and you know, craps dice things and things like that.
How many episodes would that go? 1?
Nah.
You just get on the video and you'd be like, "Hey, here's a list of other YouTube channels that do videos."
Well, there's actually like a small little like YouTube dice community. It's a really weird thing, but it sounds
unique. Like it's a really weird thing. I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of weird things that I'm into.
Very weird thing.
No, we're not going to get into that so far. Let's go back to the book recommendations here. So
to the what?
So to Annie Duke and the book recommendation of whatever that was.
Okay.
Right. So what I wanted to put a pin into. So Annie Duke brings up two things, right? She's a poker player. So I'm in a neighborhood poker game. Okay. So you brought up something interesting about Annie Duke. She has like a background in psychology. I think right?
she's a very high. I forget what her actual specialty.
Yeah, something. Yeah. So she's talking about like poker.
It might have been like technically like neuroscience, but I thought of it as brain.
Yeah. Right.
I'd have to go back.
Anyway, so it doesn't really matter for the purpose of this. But so what? So I'm in this neighborhood poker game, and the guy is my neighbor, and he's like, "Hey, would you be interested in like getting together like a poker game with like the dads in the neighborhood?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like fun. You know, just let me know when it is, and we'll try to figure it out." So over the past like year he's had like a poker game like every month, and it's been varying levels of people, and it's kind of neighborhood dads, and everybody's kind of gotten together and got a pretty good group going. So we're talking, and like I played enough poker throughout last, I don't know, since we were kids, we played enough poker, playing for Starbursts and whatever, and you know how to play, right? And you read a book every now and then, you read some stuff, and like Doyle Brunson's book and like all this other stuff. I'm like, so I have a general idea of like good poker stuff. I'm not good, but I'm okay, right?
Sure, I took my neighbors for $250 last weekend.
Right, exactly. You know how to play. Yeah. And like you know your entry points, exactly. So I'm sitting there and I'm playing, right? And the guy who runs the game, he starts talking about like how he used to run a game years ago. And we live next to a retirement community, like a 55 and older kind of place. And he used to go to a game over there, and he used to bust them up all day. And they actually told him, you can't play anymore because you win too much. Get the hell out of our game. So they kicked him out.
Out of retirement.
Yeah, he got kicked out of a 55 and older game. So then he started his own game like years ago, and he's like, all right, whatever. And that fizzled out.
Like such a low life thing.
Right. Well, no. So this no, he's actually a really like upstanding guy. So he starts this game, and it's all dads, and we're hanging out, and like I kind of noticed like he knows what he's doing. And he's watching everybody. I'm like, I can see that. So every time we play, I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit right to your left. I'm like, I want to act right after you to see what happens. So then I'm talking to him, and I said, and he got a new job recently, or an adjunct professor job at the county college. And I said, what are you doing there? He goes, oh, I'm teaching a psychology class. I said, so you just, I said, so run this by me again. So what he does is he runs like a nonprofit sports program. And I wait. So I said, hold on. So you run a nonprofit sports program, but then you also teach a psychology class at a college. So like, how does that come to be? And he goes, well, it's like I have a master in psychology. I said, oh, all right. So not only do you know how to play poker pretty well, but then you also have a master in psychology. So you're looking at all like, so I'm like, oh, all right. So that makes sense, right? So he's clearly doing okay in these games, and it's just I'm like, oh, okay. That now the pieces are coming together as to why this is all happening. I'm like, all right. So that I thought that was interesting that you wrote about Danny Duke, that she had like some sort of like neurology or psychology background, and then the guy that I'm playing with has a master's in psychology, and he's sitting there talking to everybody, like looking around, like looking for tells and doing stuff, but he's good. So I'm like, crap, So anyway, he's the money winner in the game. He's the all-time leader in wins. So I'm on his tails, but I'm up. But I'm not,
okay. Well, I guess I'm better than being down. Right?
Oh yeah. So like last week, we had like a 7-man game, and I won that one, so that was good. But it was funny. Yeah, it was like I was like, I think things you didn't know about the guys you're playing poker with, that he has a master's in psychology. Like, yeah, it was good to know. So.
Because now you would have done everything differently?
No. It's just like, it's just good to know.
What are you going to do?
Like, I don't know. Nothing. You're not going to change anything. It's just like, oh, that's why. Oh, that's why you're doing the things you do, because you like actually understand what you're looking for. So I'm not going to change anything about my game, but still fun to know. But
I find a lot of the psychology elements at a game when I'm sitting at a ring game, like which I'll do. Now I'm doing about once a month. I'm sitting in a ring game of guys once a month regularly now that I'm in my home game. Yeah. And so what I figured out is I don't think of it so like mechanically nuanced. Like I don't think it'd be like, oh, he went like this on his face.
Oh yeah.
Decided like, that must mean he's bluffing.
No.
But I put a profile to the type of person with whom I'm playing. Right. And the profiles, Phil Hellmuth does a lot of his teachings with that. And what Phil Hellmuth will have is he does it as a either the lion or the donkey or the elephant or like the jackal, which is like all different character types of players. And it's a good mnemonic device because you can kind of just put like a style to them. And you kind of play off that style. Like,
that makes sense.
They're these type of guys. So what happens is you see what they're doing with each hand, and then it starts to like get a sense of, he calls a lot. He's like a big elephant calling station. Like if you want money in just the pot, just like, he's probably going to call. He's kind of say,
goad him into, Yeah, I got you. Yeah, or you got guys that are really tight. Guys that guys that only
like he came in raising, like unless I have aces, I'm probably folding.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We have a guy. Yeah, I know exactly.
Aggressive guys are.
I didn't know that there was like a guy, like I don't know if I'll like put like names or something like that, but like in general, yeah, that's how I look at it. It's like, okay, this guy's tight, this guy calls, this guy goes, this guy plays loose, this guy likes to gamble, like it's things like that. And it's like, okay, so you can kind of read it. And it's like, okay, well, so there's one guy, the first time I played with him, I didn't know him. Man, he unbeknownst to me, he plays super tight, but he was just getting cards. So it seemed like he was just calling loose a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd get into like the turn or the river, and he people were folding to him, so he wasn't ever showing. So then I got into like 3 showdowns with him, and he was just busting me up left and right. Like I had second best hand all night. I'm like, oh, man, he was killing me. He knocked me out. He was just, but now I know that about him. He's a tight player. So then the next time I play with him, he played like 3 hands all night. He just got bled to death. But it's just the first time I played him, he was just getting cards, and nothing you could do about it. So.
What's also interesting is sort of like when you're in the opposite position. So like last time it was like 2 times ago I was playing, I had to play kind of like the gracious winner.
Oh yeah.
Because
you were like getting cards. Yeah.
I sucked out. No, I only sucked them out once, but I had quads twice in one night against the same guy.
Oh, that's a killer.
All in on both times. And he was 6'5", 225.
Oh, ouch.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, you gotta watch that one. So wait. So you busted him up on quads. He bought back in, and then you busted him up on quads again.
Yes.
Jeez. Oof.
Yes, that is what happened.
Man, he must have took. Did you take the long way home? Did you stop in somebody else's backyard? Oh, I live in this house. So he doesn't follow you home.
And we were like 5 beers in, 6.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like it was like, oh shit. He's a very gracious guy. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
He's a real sweetheart of a guy. It turns out, but I was like, because I only knew people there so well.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I was just like,
like, ooh. Yeah. But you're not gonna fold that though. I mean, you're gonna take them.
Oh no, I took the money.
Oh yeah.
I won, and I took the money, and I said thank you.
Yes, that's tough. That's a tough spot to be in.
But it's like,
especially like a new game, and you don't know the people very well.
Right.
Like that's a hard spot.
You don't want to be like, oh, that fucking guy. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, you don't want to be the guy that doesn't get invited back because you still want to play.
Took all our money and left, and no. Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't invite that guy back if I were that. Yeah. So you want to try to be kind of like in the pocket and be like, just like, like you're almost winning or losing money the first time you play with a new group of people.
Yeah.
It's almost beside the point if you win. Your objective is to be invited back.
Oh yeah. And that's exactly how it was. So the first time I played with those guys, like I played super loose because I was just there to have a good time, and I was just happy, like, whatever. So then like I got it was like maybe like 8 guys there, so I got knocked out like 3rd or 4th. And then I just dealt, so I hung out and just dealt for a while and like had a few beers. That's what I was doing, like that was fun. But I played super, super loose. I was playing opening hands that I'm like, yeah, well, I was playing very much house opening hands. They're like, like an 8-6 suited. Let's see what that plays out. And all right, let's see the flop. Let's see the flop. You raise. All right. Yeah, you raise. Yeah, I'll see the flop. It's like, well, maybe I'll hit. Very much. All right. Very, very much. Shrug your shoulders. Throw some chips in the pot.
That's a good tactic. That's a very fair tactic. I mean, the thing is, though, you also got to realize, like, are these people there to play or not?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's a mixed bag.
Because then when like you hit on that ace-6 or the 8-6 on something, everyone's gonna be like, "What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah. Like then you called out of position with 8-6 offsuit.
No, you gotta know how to play like ring poker. You gotta know position poker.
And it's funny. It's funny because like that group of guys. There's a couple guys that play, a couple guys that are there. It's a mixed bag. So who's dead money. Who's there to win. It's interesting. It's fun.
Who gets really pissed off after his 4th beer.
Yeah. Well, no, nobody. Yeah, well, not this crowd, no. But I'm the one who drinks probably the most with that crowd. I always bring. I had a habit. I was trying to clear out my fridge. So when I go to play in these games, I would just take all the Lucy's I had in my fridge and just clear them out. Because I'm just gonna be sitting there anyway. Might as well drink them. So I'd always have like garbage beer, like garbage beer or garbage seltzer, just trying to clear it, just muscle it down just while I'm sitting there. So I got the reputation of like, don't you ever drink anything good? It's like, and the answer is no, I don't. But it's just funny that that's my reputation at that thing. It's like, yeah, well, he comes and drinks 7 beers and sometimes he wins. So, all right, I'll take that reputation. I get invited back. So
sometimes it boils down to just you're a warm body in a chair, though.
Yeah, it's interesting. So that table has ebbed up to like 16 guys in one night. Like they had 2 tables at 8 one night. That was a big night, and I couldn't make that one, and I didn't go. So I would have been 17. Which so there's a group of guys that they have a pool to pick from, and it's a good game. It's a good house game. It's a good group of dudes. It usually lasts about 4 hours. It's more of a tournament. It's not a cash game. It's like a $20 buy-in.
Oh, you do a tournament.
Yeah, we do a tournament. Yeah, we do a tournament. We don't do it
in a cash game.
Yeah, see, I can't play a cash game. I'm just not good at cash games because I just can't. I just don't know how to do it.
Well,
I don't know how to.
I always considered myself more of a tournament player, but the truth of the matter is I could sit in a cash game and like defend my stack, So, but you're right. Yeah. There's 2 different ways you're going to play it. Like cash games, you're tight aggressive if you're going in the whole time. But with a tournament, I always think of it as sort of like where my level of aggression when I'm playing in a tournament is directly related to where I am in chip stack and where we are in the tournament.
Exactly what it is. Yeah. So as things have evolved, so some guys were coming to play and they didn't really know. They were just like, I kind of know how to play poker, and then they've kind of like learned a little more as we've been going. And the guy who runs it is like, all right, well now we're gonna like really stick to like some tournament stuff. Like it's timed raising the blinds and things like that. Just one, he wants to get everybody out of his house, and 2, it's like, okay, yeah, like let's figure this out and how to move this along a little quicker. So things like that. So the tournament style it's kind of like a set time limit almost. Like you get like 4 hours and got the blind set up with the amount of chips. Like you're not adding more chips than really the pot. Like there's a set amount of chips, set blinds. It'll be done by a certain time. Like you're good to go. So it works out, but it's fun.
Yeah, that makes sense, because the problem with you playing in tournaments is that late stage is like dragging it out. And you have to like really start to impose some sort of rule to keep the thing going.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. It's that we start to raise the blinds quicker just to get more action, just to get the stacks in and out quicker. So like 2 or 3 hands, it'll start to like really shape shift and like who's going to win this and whatnot. So it works out. And then the fact is, like, so last time I won, like I got I was biding my time, and I hit like 2-3 hands in a row that like really gave me some chip stack, and then just started being a bully. And I just started bullying people, and I was like, all right, let's just keep this going. So I'll take your blinds, take the blinds, So. But yeah,
it's part of the game too. It's part of the game. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like I defend my blinds like it's crazy when I'm playing in any game.
Yeah, you have to, because it keeps your head above water, and you can't forfeit your blinds to somebody, because then their stack's getting bigger, your stack's get smaller, and like if you're in big blind, you got to be aggressive. Like it's just it's the way it's got to be. But
the thing about it really is you're sending the signal that like, look, I'm choosing to play this.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like I can have any 2 cards if I just call in the big blind. First of all, somebody else has made a mistake by letting you even get to the big blind and check.
Well, yeah, right. Well, I mean, if you're 3-handed, right, and then you got dealer small big, that dealer needs to make a pretty good decision to basically raise or fold. And if because if he doesn't raise, then you're just letting people limp in, and you're 3-handed.
Okay, so you're only talking about when you're on the deal.
I'm saying yeah. I mean, I'm saying mostly 3-handed is when it starts to drag out, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're talking about.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
When we're 3-handed.
Yeah.
Then it starts to drag out.
Yeah, because then what happens is if the button keeps folding, then the blinds are just moving around the table and there's no movement in chip stack. So like that dealer guy's got to make an aggressive move to get either the small blind to fold to get more money in the pot so that it changes hands. That's the way I look at it. But and then if you're big in that situation, then you can basically come over the top.
One of the ways that I always wanted, I don't recall ever seeing it deliberately done this way, particularly pitched this way in any sort of like real tournament structure in like AC or Vegas during the World Series or something or other. The way I would do it is that if we got to a number of people rather than a set level,
right?
Like so let's say you got to the top, you made it to the money. Right. Let's say top 10% of participants, you're in the money.
Right.
And the blinds were, moving up. They were doubling or whatever the rate was every 15 minutes.
Yep.
In like a quick online tournament. Once you got to that, I started to turn into turbo. I would start to make the blinds go up like every 7 minutes.
Right. Just to accelerate it, because when you're in the money, no one's dragging it out to make
the money would start to have to spiral upward and end up landing somewhere quicker. So it's a good it's like turning on a blender to make it go faster.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a I mean, if that's set in before,
and it would only be at the very end where it would start to
Well, yeah, it's once the money is established. Like that's the trigger, and that's the trigger for turbo, which makes sense. That's a pretty good idea, because it just accelerates it, because people who are in the money, that's usually what drags it out. Like that cusp of like the last 3 or 4 guys that get out, like in a bigger tournament, like that just drags on, because everyone's like, oh, I gotta hold on, and it's like, well, no. I mean, that
would actually make even more sense if you started at maybe like 2 levels below the money.
Right. To really put the squeeze on the low stacks.
Yeah.
To really to force them make a move.
Make your move, or we're done. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty good. It's an interesting concept, and it's easy to do on an online thing. Like PokerStars could totally do that, but
and you could then really start to play with it with its genre of its own. You call it like roller coaster blinding or something, where it's like play like 30 minutes at one level, and then you play like 5 minutes at another level.
Look at that! Look at you! This guy's an idea man.
Man, right? It'd be kind of a cool thing.
It would be kind of fun. Yeah, it'd be harder. Yeah, and then you get crazy. You start throwing it into like stud. Okay, every 4th street has to be 3 times the ante. It's like minimum.
Have you ever tried
crazy?
Like, I'm assuming when you play cards, you're playing No Limit Texas Hold'em. Have you ever been in like a house game and you try to pitch playing a different game?
Yes.
You and I know how to play several different games. I can play pretty much any stud game.
That came up in this game that I'm in, right? So the one guy who runs it, he was like, I was talking about it. I was, we were like, do you guys know how to play any other games? Like, this house game is great, but like, would you guys ever be interested in playing like a stud night, like a 7-card stud night or something, like other than Texas Hold'em? Because I personally like to play 7-card stud. Like, I very much enjoy playing 7-card stud more than Texas Hold'em. I like to play Omaha Hold'em, but playing that in real life versus online is a nightmare. Don't ever do it. It's the worst. Don't do it. It's highly unrecommended, especially playing Omaha high-low. That's the stupidest thing you could ever do. It never ends.
All right, noted. I won't do that. Noted.
Yeah, I know. But okay, yeah. But
I'll continue doing exactly as I have been doing.
Yeah, right. So the conversation was, so the one guy was like, oh yeah, that'd be great. Like, play like a dealer's choice night. I was like, yeah, that'd be great. And then everybody's like, what's that? I'm like, oh, that's not going to happen. So once the conversation went to what's that? No, that's not going to work. So then the conversation was like explaining other games while we're playing, like Texas Hold'em, like teaching, like, okay, 5-card stud or 7-card stud or AC Deucey or.
And then you say, go fish.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Gin.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not just a drink anymore. It's not just What is this rummy you speak of? But yeah, so so that was one of the things that got tossed around, and then the other thing that got tossed around was a lot of guys wanted to learn how to play craps. Because then that guy, we were talking about other casino games, like playing poker at the casino. I'm like, what do you like to do at the casino? And I said, well, typically when I go to the casino, I don't like playing poker. I like playing craps. And we were like, oh, craps, is that a game with the dice? I'm like, yeah, it's a game with the dice. And they're like, do you know how to play that? I'm like, yeah, I know how to play it really well, actually. And they said, oh, can you like teach us how to play one night? I was like, I absolutely can teach you how to play it. I have a craps rig in my basement. I could bring over and I could teach you how to play craps. That is the thing I could do. So that's on the horizon too. At some point, they want me to like bring my craps rig over and like play craps one night.
There was like a YouTube channel where you gave craps lessons.
If only there was a YouTube channel that could show them how to do all these things and basically talk about craps theory. That would be fun, right?
So then after you said that, did you immediately pull out a piece of paper and say like, oh, here are some great websites to show you how to do craps?
Yes, actually, as a matter of fact, here it is. Yeah. Color up, Casino Quest. This is what it is. But yeah, so no,
I don't know what that one is.
Oh no, so it
sounds like Oregon Trails, like
no, so it's funny. So Casino Quest is a business on the Las Vegas Strip. And what they do is you can go in there and you can pay like $15 an hour and just play poker, like gambling games, and you get to like learn. So like, yeah, so like, and they have like professional dealers, and it's like a dealer school, and like, so you can go there and be like, okay, well, I want to work on playing my craps strategy, and they have like professional dealers, and you can just like pay $15 an hour or something and play craps as long as you want for no money. Like, it's not like you're just playing the game. Like, you're literally, it's like going to I don't know, somewhere to play like a board game. Like, you're playing a certain amount you pay a fee to go in and play as many board games as you want. But this is just casino games, and it's on the Las Vegas Strip, and it's called Casino Quest. So the Casino Quest guys, like, they put out like betting strategy videos on like roulette and craps, and like, you know, they talk about dealing and like why dealers do what they do, and they like kind of explain the games, and it's an interesting concept. So yeah.
So this thing you attended?
No. Well, so it's a YouTube channel, but they promote like the brick and mortar place in Las Vegas. So no, I've never gone there.
So is your craps YouTube channel supposed to be a ripoff of that? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Kind of, yeah. yeah, kind of.
So but, you're like, you know, your genius entrepreneurial idea that you brought on
I'm not saying no. It's more.
Podcast.
It's a hobby. It's a hobby that hasn't gotten.
I have a college degree in finance.
I literally only have the name. I didn't pitch anything. I literally only have a name for YouTube channel. That's all I have. A name. That's it. That's all I have.
And what was the name?
3V Craps. We can get into this if you want, but it's not going to go anywhere. But
you know, I literally like won business plan competitions in life, and you're going to pitch me a ripoff?
Never did I say it was a business. Never did I say that. What? I can't have a hobby? I can't have hobbies? Is that? I thought this was America. I thought this was America.
Fair enough. You can have hobbies. Yeah, I'm one to talk.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. After the close, link and subscribe down below.
We're I don't even know how many minutes in, and I've just now noticed that your background, you're in Michael Scott's office.
Yep.
Because there's Stanley out the back. Yeah.
I was hoping that would just come across. I was wondering when that would come across. Like, I was hoping that would be a thing. But
it took me a while.
Yeah. You're like, what? I've seen that before. What is that?
I just couldn't put my finger on what the hell that was, and it just
I mean that was the dead giveaway. You know.
Yes. Yeah. Once you actually bother to look at Stanley.
I'm not sitting in my house with the blinds with a large black man sitting behind me at a desk doing a crossword. Like, that's not in my house. It's not what's happening.
Be cooler if it was.
Be cooler if it was. Exactly. It'd be a lot cooler if you did. But anyway, so there's a couple things. So one, I'm very excited to be on the inaugural After the Close podcast. So thank you for having me. Very much appreciate that. But there's one thing that I did want to bring up was, so we're talking about books. You talking about the Annie Duke book. But so in one of your either Substacks or your previous videos, you brought up a book that you recommended. And it was a technical analysis book for trading, which I got and I started reading, which I thought was interesting.
You brought Technical Analysis of Financial Markets by John Murphy?
Yeah. I didn't buy it. I acquired it.
You acquired it. Okay.
I acquired it. And I thought it was pretty cool. Because, like, you know, so it's interesting. Like, so once the pandemic hit, right, you know, you're sitting at a desk home and you know, work is kind of slowing down a little bit. And things like everything in the news was talking about stock market stuff. And admittedly, like, I knew very little about the stock market. Mm-hmm. And so if you kind of go back to like 2016, 2017, when cryptocurrency was getting really big, I was like, what is this stuff? Like, what is this cryptocurrency stuff? So I started to learn about cryptocurrency a little bit and kind of like understanding what is that? What is this? And I started really learning about like Ethereum on that. And so I opened up like a brokerage account just to like kind of look at Ethereum, and I put like a little bit of money in there just to see what it is. Like, when you have a little bit of skin in the game, you kind of watch it a little differently, and you're like, all right, let's see what this does, and like what is happening. Let's read the news and all this other crap. So then when when COVID hit in 2020, like, I had a brokerage account and people were talking about like stock market stuff and all this other stuff, and then so like, all right, well, like okay, let me buy like a stock of something and just like see what happens, like what is going on. And then the whole GameStop thing happened, right? Mm-hmm. So when GameStop went crazy, then I was like, all right, what is happening here? Why is this happening? So I started to learn a lot about the stock market. I really started to like really figure out what's happening. By no means am I smart in this area, but it's fun to
No one
learn
would
about.
ever call you smart, sir.
No, not at all, not at all. But but I thought it was an interesting concept, and I was like, oh, let me. So you pull on the thread a little bit, and you start to learn a little more. You start to learn a little more. You start to learn a little more, and
Before you know it, you have another family in another state. You have to travel back and forth. And how did you get into this mess? And half of your paycheck goes here, and half of your paycheck goes there. And oh my god,
it's crazy. You know, that double family unlimited is nuts. You know, yeah, it's crazy. It's really hard to be a civil engineer and then also a tequila entrepreneur in Tijuana at the same time. It's really hard. But so the financials. Yeah, no, that. But so I learned a lot. I was learning a lot about like stock trading and things like that. And people on YouTube were talking about stuff, and I was finding people, and I was listening, and I was trying to learn. But then you have your Trader Dad stuff, and I was like listening to that stuff and trying to learn about what you had to say. And then I learned.
Let me just stop you right there. This is not meme stock mania.
No, not at all. I'm not saying
continue.
this. I'm not saying this. No. What I'm saying is that because of that meme stock mania, I started to find, okay, what's the real stuff, like the actual learning of stuff, like what does this mean? Like what does that mean? What does this mean? Like why is that happening? What does that mean? And then I started learning, okay, when the Fed is issuing reports, like, okay, what does that mean? Like what is the CPE? What is the CPI? Like what are all the why is this stuff affecting my everyday life? Because like all that financial stuff, like, okay, that clearly has an impact on what is going on in the world, and I'm a part of the world, and that affects why I'm paying prices that I'm paying. So why not try to understand it more, right? And that was something that I've been trying to do, and trying to understand the markets and trying to really understand those things. And so then at some point I was like, oh, well then like this seems to be like a lot of people seem to make a lot of money on this stuff, right? So how are they doing that? And I was reading about it. I was like, like what is, so, okay, I understand it. You buy a stock, and if it goes up and you sell it, you make money. You buy a stock and it goes down. You buy a stock, you sell it and it goes down, you lose money. I'm like, all right, well, seems pretty interesting. And I was like, well, what are options, right? And I was like, well, that's a derivative of a stock. I was like, okay, so I learned about what options are. And I was like, okay, well, I have the obligation to sell something if I'm selling, an option or the opportunity to buy a stock at a certain price when I buy it, at a strike price and all that other stuff. And I was like, well, I could like sell. So I have stock. I could sell against it and earn premium while I still own the stock. And if it doesn't go above that price, it expires. I'm like, I can make a couple bucks. That's pretty nice. Because normally if you just hold on to the stock, it doesn't go anywhere. Well, you just sit in money. But if I sell against, if I sell a covered call, well, cool. All right, I make a couple bucks. That was cool. I learned something about that. And I was like, I can sell cash covered puts. Well, that's interesting. I could learn that. So then I learned about that. And, so it was kind of pulling on the thread, and I was learning about derivatives. And I was like, well, there's another one. Now there's futures. What is this futures market? What is this crap? So now I'm learning about that. And I was like, all right. So, and I was watching following a guy on YouTube, and he was talking about, he talks about a lot of analytical trading and trading models and this and that thing. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So then you were talking about in one of your videos about your technical analysis book. I was like, I should probably read that, because talking about, bull flags, bear flags, and all this other good stuff. And I was like, oh, well, patterns in trading. And I was like, oh, all right, let's check this out. So that I thought that was a really good thing in the journey of me trying to learn about the stock market. Was like, part of the problem that I have is that I don't know where to start. Because like I didn't go to college to learn about finance or anything like that stuff. I went and got a civil engineering.
Let me just point out for this, because this is important. You're not gonna get a bachelor's in finance, and they're not gonna no Bachelor of Finance program is going to hand you Technical Analysis of Financial Markets by John Murphy.
Well, no, understand. But to be fair, I was not exposed to anything financial in the stock markets at all. Didn't have conversations with people about it. Didn't understand anything about it. And it's all things like in my adult life, like more recently, in the past couple of years, like, oh, this is something that affects my life. I should understand it. Like, I have a 401k program that's all invested into, index funds and things like that. And then those index funds have underlying equities that I need to, so all of that stuff is things that I needed to learn about. And I was like, well, that's a pretty good idea of like, but for me, like, where do you start? Like, yeah, I had no idea where to start. You have no idea where to start. And, understanding the basics is really hard for a lot of people. People that don't have any object or any understanding of the stock market whatsoever, it's really hard to find the basics. Mm-hmm. And, like it took me a while to find the basics and to really kind of understand it. And I just kind of had to dip my feet in and just kind of throw a couple bucks at it and just see what happened and like try to understand it. Granted, yeah, I lost some money, but I learned a valuable lesson and I learned a lot of things, and it opened up a whole new door of things that like it's not entertaining, but like it's important to understand why the things that are coming out matter, especially with, for me, like in 2008, when the market crashed, like I understood peripherally, like what was going on. Like, and I watched The Big Short or whatever that movie was, and I kind of understood it, like I understood the real estate market was crashing, and that created a lot of other problems, but I don't fully understand what happened there. But like with COVID, like I understand why that was happening. I got that. Like that made sense to me. I was like, okay. And then that like it very much opened this whole door of things for me. So I thought that was interesting. I thought a lot of your videos that you created, like when you were talking about it, you broke it down pretty easily, and you were talking about, like SPY and what the SPY potentially was going to be doing based on, the parameters that you saw. And like, I'm like, okay, that I can follow this. I understand why you're saying what you're saying. The words make sense. And I thought that was really good. So I do appreciate, the Trader Daz channel and all the things that like I'm trying to learn. And I think it's a good resource to start at that point. So I and also like you made an off the cuff comment about this technical analysis book. I thought that was good. Like I was like, oh, I caught on to it. I was like, oh, let me check that out and see if it's any good and see if it makes sense to me. So, it's one of the things that I'm starting to read, and like, okay, like if the, it's a lot further than the basics, but it's like, oh, cool. Like that's a start. Like I had no idea that book existed. And why would I?
No, of course. And I understand exactly where you're driving at. And I gotta tell you, I really appreciate hearing that. Yeah. I try to really link the Substack content out to more like reputable sources and like hook, line, and sinker type of deal. So the only thing is like, it's any given thing is only one piece of the puzzle, right? Like,
oh, of course, yeah.
So a book like that is wonderful for what it is. It explains technical analysis, but it does not talk about beyond maybe a cursory chapter on risk management or fundamentals.
Right.
That'll drive things, and sort of how at different points, different parts are the driver.
Yeah.
There's a lot like that is a great element to understand the technical analysis side of things. But it's also one of many pieces. So you can't rely too heavily on just that.
Right. You have to understand what you're dealing with. Like the Tesla fundamentals are much different than like the Apple fundamentals and things like that. So you need to understand what's going on. And also the Tesla is another interesting thing. Like, so Elon Musk going, kind of off the deep end a little bit, and everybody's like, oh, so the Tesla earnings just came out, right? And I don't know if you followed that at all, but so everybody
I was well aware of the earnings that were coming out. Yeah, earnings season is going on.
Right. So what a lot of people were speculating was because of like Tesla's earnings were going to miss the mark, and they didn't. And that was an interesting thing to see. Like, okay, well, so they didn't miss the mark, so they had a bit of a spike over the past, Thursday and Friday, and but so if you were expecting a miss on the earnings report and you were shorting it, then you got screwed when the earnings report came out and it spiked. That sucks.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's the other side of the point on that.
I don't really. I just like it's the what ifs in my mind. Like, I'm not exactly an active investor, but it's just like, oh, if that were to happen, how does that happen? Like, what happens then? It's like, oh, okay, that happens, and it's interesting. Yeah, so like, it's a whole fun little thing that I'm opening my eyes into, and it's mixed emotions towards it. It's entertaining and exciting to learn something new, but it's also extraordinarily scary to see how fragile something like that is and how poorly it could go very quickly, like based on perception. It's like, well, people have a lot of money invested in this stuff, and that could go sour real fast. Like, that's scary.
Well, things can change very quickly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
And I would recommend you looking out for the Substacks that are coming out, because there's going to be a couple of new ones dropping in February that will really like be up the alley you're talking about.
Nice.
So look for those. Those will be good.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I do like hearing that kind of stuff though. That is it's great feedback in general.
Yeah.
But it really like, reaffirms some of the tent poles that we're trying to like drive through with this.
Oh yeah. I honestly, I was talking to you a little bit before this, that I think the concept is good, because like the dad aspect of things is something that a lot of people are going through, and I know a lot of people are having their own dad issues, and there's a lot of dad content on the internet, and it's great to kind of see a different take on some of the dad stuff through the eyes of kind of trading, and you kind of
a lot of good dad stuff on the internet, like with their stepdaughter. Is that what you're driving at?
No, no. No. On like Instagram and stuff. Like there's fun like dad content, like dad jokes, and there's a good one. I think it's called I don't know. I see it all the time. It's like the dad something or other. But I saw one the other day. It was called the Dumb Dads.
Okay.
And they're having a press conference, and they were asking the dads like, so what happened out there? He goes, yeah, we're at the park, and I forgot to bring the jacket, and that was a problem. He got cold, and it was really funny, really relatable. And then so then we eventually had to go home, and we got home and gave him some applesauce, and and what happened out there? Well, yeah, we lost something good out there. Lost the backpack. And is that the fourth time this year you've lost a backpack? Yes, fourth time you've lost a backpack. It was just like that caught me off guard. It was like a press conference. I'm like, I hear that, man. We lost a good backpack out there. Yeah, that was. But I mean, it's just funny, relatable things out there from parenting perspectives, and especially from a dad perspective. There's a lot of things that dads go through that it's just like, yeah, that's how it goes. And case in point, when we started tonight, kids going to sleep, and
on behalf of Instagram, thank you.
Yeah, well, whatever. Whatever. But so I don't know. But you relate back to fun things, and obviously, it's entertaining content. So. Can't go wrong with that.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. So we're going to try to get some of the formatting down. We're going to get some of the technical specs down. We're going to try to get it so that I'm not interrupted 6 different ways through these.
Wow.
But that's part of the lore of being a dad. So with that, these are going to drop every expiration Friday. So when you'll be seeing this, it's 2/17 is next expiration Friday. And then
hope everybody had a good Valentine's Day.
What?
Hope everybody had a good Valentine's Day.
Oh, Jesus.